Think about the last thing you bought. Coffee, groceries, a bill you paid online. Doesn't matter what it was. At some point today, or yesterday, or this morning, you exchanged money for something. You didn't think about it. Nobody does. It was automatic, seamless, as natural as breathing. Now answer this. What did you actually hand over? Not the card, not the app, not the physical note if you used one. What is the thing itself, money, at its core? What is it made of? Where does its value come from? Why does the person on the other side accept it without question? Most people, smart people, educated people, people who handle money every single day cannot answer that. And that gap between how much we use something and how little we understand it is one of the most consequential blind spots in modern life. By the end of this video, you're going to understand what money actually is. Not the circular definition everyone gives, but the real answer. Where its value comes from, how that value can disappear, and why understanding it changes how you see every financial decision you'll ever make. To understand what money is, you have to understand what problem it solves. Before money, trade was direct. You had wheat, I had fish. If we both wanted what the other had, we traded. Simple, but with one catastrophic limitation. What if I had fish, but didn't want wheat? What if you wanted shoes, but the shoemaker didn't want fish? Every transaction required a perfect double coincidence of wants. Two people, each holding exactly what the other needed, finding each other at exactly the right moment. Economies cannot scale on that foundation, so humans invented an intermediary, something both parties would always accept, not because they needed the thing itself, but because they trusted someone else would take it next. Shells, beads, salt, eventually metal, eventually gold and silver, which had the useful properties of being scarce, durable, divisible, and portable. Crucially, early money had intrinsic value. Gold was worth something independent of its use as money. You could melt it, wear it, or use it. The value was baked into the material. The paper arrived, and paper changed everything. Paper money began as a receipt for gold stored in a vault. You didn't carry the gold, you carried the claim, a promise that the gold existed, redeemable on demand. The paper had no intrinsic value. It was worth something only because it represented something that did. Then, in 1971, the United States ended the gold standard entirely. The dollar was no longer redeemable for gold. It was backed by nothing physical at all, and the global financial system didn't collapse. Which raises the obvious question, if money isn't backed by gold, what is it backed by? The answer is the most important thing to understand about money. It is backed by trust, specifically by collective belief, the shared agreement of everyone using it that it holds value. Nothing more and nothing less than that. This sounds fragile. It is in fact extraordinarily durable because it is self-reinforcing. You accept dollars because you believe others will accept dollars. They accept dollars because they believe you will. The belief sustains itself through use. As long as confidence holds, the system functions flawlessly. Economists call this fiat money. Fiat is Latin for let it be done, money that has value by declaration, by social agreement, rather than by physical backing. But here is where most explanations stop short. The value of fiat money is not just sustained by belief, it is actively managed. Governments and central banks control the supply of money, and supply directly determines value. When more money exists relative to the goods and services available to purchase, each unit buys less. When less money exists, each unit buys more. This is inflation and deflation, not random forces, but the direct consequence of supply management decisions made by specific institutions. And money today isn't even primarily created by governments. As covered in previous videos, roughly 95% of money in circulation was created by commercial banks through lending. Every loan creates money. Every repayment destroys it. The total money supply is constantly expanding and contracting based on borrowing behavior across millions of transactions. The dollar in your pocket is the output of this entire system, created through debt, valued through collective agreement, managed by institutions, and worth precisely what everyone currently agrees it is worth. That last part carries more weight than it sounds, because agreement can shift. History is full of moments when the agreement broke. Weimar Germany, 1923. The government printed money to pay war reparations. Supply exploded, confidence collapsed, prices doubled daily, workers were paid twice a day and spent the money immediately because waiting an hour meant the money was worth less. Wheelbarrows of notes to buy bread. Life savings are reduced to nothing in weeks. Zimbabwe, 2008. Inflation reached an estimated 89 sextillion% annually. The central bank issued a $100 trillion note which could not buy a loaf of bread. Venezuela, within the last decade, a functioning modern economy reduced to barter in parts because the currency lost meaning faster than it could be replaced. These aren't ancient history or distant anomalies. They are demonstrations of what money always is, an agreement, and what happens when that agreement breaks down at scale. The dollar, the euro, the pound, they are more stable than any of those examples. They are backed by powerful institutions, trusted governments, and deep economic foundations. But they are not different in kind, only in degree. Every currency in existence is sustained by confidence, and confidence, however durable, is never unconditional. So, what does understanding this actually change in practice? It reframes inflation from an inconvenience into a signal. Persistent inflation means the supply of money is growing faster than the supply of real things to buy. It is the system communicating that money is being created, and that sitting on cash means holding something that is being deliberately diluted. It reframes savings. Keeping wealth in currency long-term means keeping it in the thing that the system is structurally designed to produce more of. More supply, less value per unit. The people who preserve wealth across generations rarely do it in cash. They do it in assets, things with intrinsic or productive value that money can buy but cannot replicate, and it reframes financial decisions at every level. When you understand that money is a collective agreement managed by institutions, not a fixed neutral store of value, you stop treating it as an endpoint. You start treating it as a tool, something to move through, not accumulate in. The wealthiest people in the world hold the least of their net worth in cash, not because they don't understand money, because they understand it completely. We use money every day. We check our balances, make our transactions, measure our progress in it, and worry about having enough of it. It is the most universal tool in human civilization, used by more people more consistently than anything else ever invented. And most of us have never stopped to ask what it actually is. It is not gold. It is not government paper. It is not a number in a database. Not really. It is an agreement, a collective fiction so deeply embedded, so universally shared, that it functions as reality. And like all agreements, its power comes entirely from participation, from the belief of the people inside that it means something. That belief is not naive. It is not irrational. The institutions maintaining it are real. The legal frameworks enforcing it are real. The productive economies behind it are real. But the value itself, the number that tells you what your labor was worth, what your savings can buy, what your future might look like, that number exists because enough people agree that it does. Understanding that doesn't make money less useful. It makes you less confused about what it actually is. And that clarity, knowing the real nature of the tool you're using, is worth more than most of the financial advice you will ever receive.